Today, I bring back to you some very valuable information in response to the Prime Minister's repetitious attempt to muzzle the Jamaican people. But before I get deeply into it, I want to identify that this might just be the last video I'll be putting out on political affairs, and this is in light of the fact that the obvious is happening, but many people in Jamaica refuse to open their eyes and see it. Therefore, you people are dangerous. Under the Prime Minister, dangerous, I promise you. You people are dangerous. And yes, you may argue that it is the few, but you see the few? It was the few who were the house slaves. You are dangerous. So me can't save you. Nevertheless, let's get into it. It appears that the public opinion of the Jamaican people is not welcomed, especially not welcomed by our Prime Minister. The fact of the matter is, if we are going to muzzle public opinion, then with all due respect, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, you will have to throw out the idea and the workings of public prosecution. The fact of the matter is, in a public prosecution, it is the public that determines judgment on the accused, right? And this judgment is based on the opinions of the jury and the people at large, given the presence or the absence of evidence. So you have to go dismantle the court of public prosecution if the average civilian, the people's voice, the people's opinion does not matter. And in addition to that, you're gonna have to come off of social media, because this is like a reservoir for public opinion. Everybody in their different personalities, their different ideologies, worldviews, etc., they are all here, and they are ready to scrutinize anything that is posted. And opinions may not be facts, and vice versa. Nevertheless, those persons who the opinion is being made about have to know how to handle it. Ego not go work. Threatening the constitutional right of the Jamaican people is not the way to go, my brother. Let's move right along. The eyes of many of us was made privy to government foolery during COVID. And we realized that much of our constitutional right that we thought we had as a right, we didn't quite have. And I can assume now that many people before now would have lost their right without having access to information. They would have just sat there and bask in their ignorance, operating in a mode of acceptance and conformity to things that were pretty much deleterious to their moral code, and them pick the moral code and even their biology over time. And it is with these thoughts that I bring this information back to the forefront. In 2019, apparently the government sought to increase the timeline on which certain documents will be made public. If you make it this far, that means you're interested. You can like, share, repost, do whatever you want. If you don't do that, it doesn't matter to me. So document to a document. Apparently our government sought to move the bill of secrecy from 20 years to 70 years. Look on your screen. Am I supposed to put allegedly in my videos? Like information that is really out there and documented by credible sources. I'm supposed to say, okay, allegedly, to protect myself. Okay. So moving right along. This, my friends, is very dangerous, because if you block cabinet documents that would have had all the operations and proceedings, right, throughout the time period that the political party would have held office, you move that from 20 years to be disclosed all the way to 70 years. Do you realize that nobody within our timeline will ever be privy to properly analyzing and scrutinizing what they have done to or for or against the Jamaican people? And people out there come tell me bullshit. But no. Listen, it is the Prime Minister himself who came out when he was to be elected as Prime Minister of Jamaica. He said that government should be held accountable. So we don't know how come now he might track people and find people and all kind of scare people, saying that it's a threat to democracy. Matter of fact, this is democracy. By the definition of democracy, freedom of speech. This ain't hate speech. This is simply assessment and analysis. And so you go from a critical standpoint. Let us look at this news report. We're going to look at more than one. Straight from the Jamaica Gleaner. Credible source, right? This one says, full text. Government addresses access to information resolution. And this was published on October 3rd, 2019 at 12:48 p.m. It reads, the Andrew Holness-led administration today moved to address public outcry over its move to bar cabinet documents from public disclosure from 20 to 70 years. Now you guys can actually read this, look it up and read it on your own. But I want to look at a similar news article, right? Why we want to look at this one is because it contains third-party opinions, something where the JLP government seem to be scared of. We're going to make AI read that one or two.
Why the Gov wanted a 70-year block on access to cabinet documents. It's the question Jamaica's Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith and the Parliamentary Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, OPM, Robert Nestor Morgan, have been struggling to answer. Why did the government want to increase from 20 to 70 years the period for which cabinet documents may be banned from public access?
Good question.
The controversial proposal has been met with intense public outrage and, according to Johnson-Smith, will be withdrawn at Friday's sitting of the Senate and during next week's meeting of the House of Representatives. But why was it made in the first place? Johnson-Smith told Nationwide Radio that it arose from a request under the Access to Information (ARTI) Act for Cabinet Minutes for 1975 and 1976, which would include the period of a state of public emergency in Jamaica. Morgan went further, explaining that the ARTI application included a request for personal information for persons dead or alive. Public commentator Susan Goff immediately took to Twitter criticizing the government. That does not justify a blanket 70-year exemption of all cabinet documents, she posted. Anti-corruption campaigner Jeanette Calder also weighed in, noting that the ARTI Act makes provisions for redaction. Redactions are done every day, sick. For those of us who use the Act to access info, Calder posted. In the meantime, the OPM, in a statement this afternoon, said that the request for cabinet documents that triggered the 70-year secrecy proposal will be reconsidered. The government appreciates and understands the sentiment of the Jamaican people and has a duty to thoroughly explore and consider all the issues before it and balance competing rights to achieve equity, said an OPM spokesperson.
I don't believe that.
Meanwhile, the office of the Leader of the Opposition has rejected as false a claim by Morgan that before signing the order for the 70-year block, Prime Minister Andrew Holness had discussions with Opposition Leader Dr. Peter Phillips and there were no objections. The Leader of the Opposition told the Prime Minister immediately that 70 years was too long, said one of Phillips' aides, Colin Campbell. He said that the Prime Minister had replied by saying that it was the standard and that the opposition leader told him that he would check. According to Campbell, there was no further exchange on the matter.
Let us play a game quick and fast. Write your age in the comment box. Add a plus, then add a 70, and equal, then add the total. Everybody do that if you make it this far. I really would like to see how old the average set of Jamaicans would be in 70 years. Because if I take it from, let's say, 15 years of age, add 70 pound 15, how much you get? 85. And a 15-year-old don't even really care about politics. So let's put it at about 20 to 25, when persons would start developing their true worldview, yeah, and may want to become politically affiliated, yeah, consciously. 2025, so let's put it at 20. 70 and 20 is how much? A 90-year-old man and a 90-year-old woman, you think they have time to scrutinize documents bearing information on any form of infraction or anything that would have committed or infringed upon the people's right in the past? 70 years for this bill would have meant, guess what? No one in this lifetime, no one in the Prime Minister's lifetime, no one in a Fee or a Fimi lifetime, no one in a Eagle with picking in them lifetime. Because guess what? Add 70 pound 10, how much you get? 80. Matter of fact, your picnic just born, 1 year old. A 70-year-old man or woman, how likely is it for a regular civilian to scrutinize what happened in the past? they're not that excited to do paperwork. So this government was either attempting to hide something for someone, or they were planning for the future. It's just my opinion. See, planning for the future, that when it gets to 20 years, that wouldn't be a landmark for anybody to dig up any information on them. All they're saying to the Jamaican people, indirectly, is that, yo, we have a dead fuss before you find out about me. I believe that's what it's saying. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I misinterpret, because I mean, Father Rusty did always say, oh, you always misinterpret. What am I misinterpreting here? Add 70 years on Prime Minister Andrew Holness' age and tell me, how old would he be? Over 100? How likely would it be for the Jamaican people, any particular person within Jamaica, to hold this government, the members of this government, the Prime Minister, accountable for anything at all? We will neither be able to reward him nor prosecute him, because we all will be long gone. And my die-hearted friends sit down and see this and comfortable with it. That's why I'm telling you, say, no, dangerous. And it is with this understanding that I now hold the view that all content creators, all vloggers should apologize to the government for ever mentioning anything negative about them. Because the truth is, the government is not the problem. The people are the problem. Make it unready. Allegedly.